Now we are going to implement conditional rendering here in this lecture. As you see that when I click on the users, it does show the users data. But when I click on to-dos, the users data is still there and we see the to-dos data. So we just want that when we click on the to-dos button, it should display only the relevant data. And when I click on the users, it should show the users data only. So that's where we implement conditional rendering. Very quickly, I'm just going to go to the code because we have to take a decision that which option is selected. I'm going to create another state which will keep the flag or the value that which button is clicked. So I'm going to say const and the user data. I'll just name this as user data and that is going to be the flag. So I'm going to say if user data is true, that means user is selected, and if it is false, that means to-dos is selected. So I'll put a comma and then set user data, that's the setter method, is equal to use state, and let's say initially I assign true. So the initial value for this user data state is going to be true. The next thing is that when this button is clicked, we call the fetch users, and on this we call fetch to-dos. So these are the two functions where we are going to set the user data flag. So I'll go to first of all the fetch users, and here after this set users and the brackets, I'm going to say set user data true. So when the users button is clicked, this fetch user will be called and it will set the user data to true. And then in the to-dos, I'm going to say set user data is false. Alright, so now let's save this. Now we are going to implement the conditional rendering. So I'm going to use the ternary operator. We have the question mark and colon. So here after the bracket, I'll just put user data and I'll put a question mark here. Then we have this users.map. So now we don't need these brackets because we are going to keep only one main bracket in which we are going to write this JavaScript. So I'll put a colon here. So this means if the user data is true, this section will be called, and if it is false, that is after the colon sign, that's the false section. So this to-dos.map will be called. Now let me just save this and let's go to the output. And here I say users. So we see the users data. And when you click on to-dos, you see that only the to-dos data is getting displayed. Let me do it again. I'll say users and to-dos. So the conditional rendering, we have already seen in previous sections how the conditional rendering works. But here also we tried to make the application more decent with this conditional rendering option.